Hobie? Hello? We have a little bit of a situation we wanted to run by you.
Mobius! Wow! Great to see you again!
That's what's been happening.
Wow! Time slipping.
Wait, you know that?
Yeah.
You've seen that?
Yeah.
Can you fix that?
No. It's impossible to time slip in the TVA.
I know, but we just saw it happen.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Mix Sessions Emmy Awards season virtual event. I'm Jennifer Walden, here to talk about Loki Season 2 finale, Glorious Purpose, which has been nominated for Outstanding Sound Mixing for a Comedy or Drama Series, 1 hour. Loki is streaming on Disney+. Joining me to talk about the sound mix on the show is production mixer Paul Munro. Paul has recorded sound for many superhero and fantasy-based films and shows like The Marvels, Black Widow, Sandman, Cruella, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, and more. This is Paul's first Emmy nomination. Welcome, Paul. Thanks for being here to talk about Loki.
Well, thanks for having us.
And next up is no need for an introduction, re-recording mixer Karol Urban CAS. She's provided sound editing and sound mixing on roughly 170 films and shows to date. She is a former president of the Cinema Audio Society and regularly shares her industry knowledge and expertise in articles, interviews, and panels like this one. So thank you so much, Karol, for joining us, and congrats on your first Emmy nomination. So let's start with the production side of Loki, Paul, for the season finale. There were some interesting costumes. You have Victor's suit for when he's entering the temporal loom. Was there a mic on him? Did you get to work with the costume department? What was that like?
Yeah, thankfully I've worked with the costume department. It was the same costume department that was on The Marvels, in fact. So we had quite a good working relationship. So we were constantly talking, trying to work out the best way to get mics on. Generally, we would pre-rig everything, so we knew where it was. We weren't interrupting the actor's process. There was a couple of mics on for Victor, but also because he's got the helmet on as well, we had intercom systems so the directors could talk to him, so he could hear all the other actors who were interacting with him. So it was there was quite a lot going on there.
And Karol, what was it like to work with that bubble suit production dialogue? How did you make that read in post? How did you?
There
were a lot of wind machines. There were.
Yes.
To be honest, the crew that I worked with up at Skywalker were insane. The editorial was so fantastic. They did a lot of preparation for me. So a lot of the heavy lifting had come. They had already gone through all the mics. And luckily, Paul, I feel like you erred on the side of just let's record it, which is great because you gave us a lot of useful floor noise to kind of blend and to kind of make things disappear. Like the ear will, if something's consistent and smooth, like I was like clean, like smooth is better than clean, the ear will kind of automatically filter things out. So we used a lot of masking techniques. We of course had the benefit of the incredible like loom sounds and the sounds of the TVA, and there was a lot of environments, and there was the swelling of the loom with that suit. So we were able to kind of basically use the wind sound in that space as part of the environment and edit it as an element of the environment, use it in the sound design, which was really great.
And there's so much happening in that scene as Victor's walking out on that gangway.
That poor guy, right?
To the temporal loom.
I mean, hundreds of years of just getting spaghettified, really.
So much happening.
Yeah. I mean,
finally,
he's a big guy, but that suit was pretty heavy. I mean, like, I don't envy
Paul,
him.
it's funny because I had the same conceptual. I heard the suit, but I didn't see the suit. And then I went to a beautiful screening at the Samuel Goldwyn in Hollywood, and they had the suit there. And I actually got to take a picture with the suit because I don't get that as post. We don't actually put our hands on anything. Like, it's all conceptual for us as well. That's a piece of workwear. I mean, like, it's a hefty metal. It's not. Like, a lot of things look hefty and we add sound to make them hefty, but they're not. This was really, you're right. It was a piece of machinery.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember seeing it when I originally saw the costume designs for it and thought, oh my gosh, this is, I don't
it's formidable.
Yeah. Going to have to wear this.
I love the scene at or I was not gonna say the end, one of the ends. Again, I don't want to give it away. But where Victor is sitting in the suit and he kind of leans against the railing and he's looking out and he's seeing kind of the space time, the loom kind of collapse, etc. And he recognizes, oh no, we didn't make it again. And you could really hear in production, we used a lot of the production effects for that because the helmet came off and the clunking of that thing when he's sitting down it's formidable. Yeah, formidable is the word.
That's so awesome that the sound was picked up.
Oh, we used
on the
everything.
side.
Although our designer,
so I guess it was like
amazing.
the
and Bjorn Schroeder and his entire editorial team. Like, I couldn't have asked for a better team. Even my co-mixer, we split episodes. So there's another re-recording mixer that worked on the event episodes or the other episodes, and we worked together to kind of create a consistent sound that gave respect to kind of the Marvel theology, like of Loki, which is an incredible IP, an incredible world and universe, but also to the beautiful narrative, because this is really about redemption and about it's he's kind of like Sisyphus, going, like he's constantly trying to improve the situation and looking outside of himself. And in the end, he realizes it's really a very personal and human story about realizing that the redemption and the solution to all of these problems is within his own actions. It's not about an external thing. So it was a very personal story in this crazy, incredible universe.
And so a lot of these scenes, it's like Loki's going back to the same event. He's trying to get it right. So what was that like on the production side, having to, capture all these different scenes? It's like the same event, but from different perspectives or, different outcomes.
It was kind of funny because, Justin and Aaron, obviously, we're repeating the same thing over and over again, but you've got to instill energy into it. So so the audience isn't getting bored. And the only way I can describe it is kind of like jazz. Like everyone was just kind of just riffing and doing their own thing. The camera movements were never the same more than twice. It was all on a wide angle lens. The actors were kind of ad-libbing and doing their own thing. So there was kind of, obviously there was a script, but the script kind of went out the window a little bit. So there was kind of just like a synergy between the actors, the boom operators, myself, and the Steadicam op. And, you would say it was challenging, but everyone was so collaborative. They just kind of all got on board and everyone just kind of went with it. And I think that kind of shows on the screen, really, that, everyone is kind of just riffing with it, really. It kind of made it really fun. Normally as a mixer, you go, oh my God, this is terrible. I don't know what's coming next, what's going on. But everyone was so on board. It was actually a lot of fun to do.
I'd like to echo that sentiment in post-production. I had the same thing. There wasn't a single solitary person on this project that wasn't a completely dedicated and excited, not in any way feeling the weight of the enormity of work that was done. Nobody felt that. They were all very excited. If they had an idea or a way to improve something or to elevate, they did. And they did enjoy, which was really great.
Karol, on the mixing side, so, for you, what was it like to take the same event and, mix it over and over, or try to bring the same energy or a high level of energy to the same event that's happening over and over? How did you achieve that on the dub stage?
It was really interesting because there were two approaches that you could kind of take, which is to make sure that you match everything exactly because we're going back to the same event. And what we realized, working with Bjorn Schroeder, the sound supervisor, is that we realized by doing that, you actually weren't able to make the time jumps that you needed to show that this was being done over and over again. So ironically, by being exactly repetitive back and forth, it sounded like the same shot, not like the same, different incidences of the same event. So we ended up playing a lot with the perspective and actually making those cuts from one scene to another, kind of intentionally bump, so that you felt a kind of switch in experience. And that's also why we decided at the end experience, when Loki does decide to go down to the plank and walk the plank, when he goes down those stairs, we kind of brought down all of the loom sound and gave it this in the head kind of experience and pressed everything out, because that gave us the largest differential of experience of going onto the plank that we had with any other incident in the show. And it made it a more poignant, personal realization. So yeah, we actually decided to keep the same elements, but intentionally kind of play extreme perspective and to make those scenes bump in order to allow it to be clear as a different incident at the same time.
Yeah, so Loki walking the plank. That's such an epic scene. I mean, you have like huge sound design. Of course, you have dialogue from Loki. There's
Beautiful
like big
music.
epic music happening. How did you pick your way through that? And you mixed this in Dolby Atmos, right? So was that helpful?
We were able to really create an immersive experience, and it's beautiful in Atmos, I gotta say. I was very excited to actually see it during the screening at the Samuel Goldwyn too in a theater too. It was really awesome. I was a little scared as the mixer to be like, oh gosh, I don't know, whenever you go to a new environment, you're like, how is this going to translate? It was really beautiful, but no, we really utilized all that space and we needed it because, there is such detail in the sound design and there's so many elements narratively because it really is about a convergence of conflicts coming together and being blinded by all of these different things that are going on and you're having to manage, and Loki is overwhelmed the entire season with all of these things coming out. How is he going to solve this problem? He's just like beating on this solution. And how about this? How about this? How about this? Moving around when truthfully it was the serenity of looking within himself that solved all these things. So to basically auditorially visualize that, I don't even know if that's a word, but do you know what I mean? Like to display that in sound, we really needed to create different environments and utilize the space, the loom, the machine of the room, the people, the environment, the decay, all of that was very spatially engineered, moment by moment. And it, I think it really worked. I was very, very happy.
And Paul, on the production side, of course, we talked about wind machines. Yeah. Yep. Like Loki's got the breeze going. So yeah. Was that a challenging one for dialogue?
I got to say that in sequence when he's walking the plank and he's kind of accepting his fate, even though there's very limited amount of production sound on that, it was the most challenging day I ever had on Loki. It was like, Tom is an consummate professional. And if you talk to him about anything to do with Loki, he absolutely knows everything. He loves this character so much. And this is a kind of culmination of him going from being a petulant child to lashing out, to becoming a villain, to becoming an anti-hero, then a hero at the end. And so when he's walking towards the temporal loom to go and destroy it, I remember like having quite a long conversation with him, and he wanted various different music pieces to kind of signify the emotions he wanted to feel at that time. So it was constantly, he goes, I want this track, that track, this track, that track, go. So we were like constantly scrambling, trying to cut all these music tracks together, and they go, oh, actually, this one doesn't quite work. Can you put this track in here? But like started from, a minute beforehand and then play that in and then fade to this track and that track. And it was a challenging day, but, at the end of it, he was like, thank you so much. This really, really helped, so although, previously the scenes we did were big wide shots, sweeping Steadicam shots with like 6 or 7 people talking. That was a challenging day, that one. But yeah, I think it all worked out in the end.
I so love to hear that even on an actor's, performer's, camera talent level, that he's utilizing sound to inspire him to really embrace this narrative. That's wonderful.
Yeah, he really wanted that to kind of inform his emotions at the time, because he walks down there and he's like kind of, doesn't know what to do. I think Sylvie just said, do you want to be the god that takes away free will? And like says, sometimes you just got to break stuff. And he's like, oh, okay, well, we tried it every other way. Let's give this a go. And then he gets down there and he screams and he's frustrated. And then, he sort of energizes all the timelines and brings it together. And then finally he gets the throne that he didn't necessarily want, but he got his throne. And he's the savior of the whole multiverse in the end. So, it really worked out well.
And he delivered an epic scream there. Was that production, or was that something you guys had to go back and capture? Or was that like from the set?
I'll never tell.
I think that's probably post, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Oh.
honestly, all elements, production and design and processing and mix, and it was a combination of all schools coming together. Like, it is not purely one or the other.
So when Victor is like in his bubble suit, you have Loki like encouraging him, like talking through the speakers, and you can hear all of that. So tell me about some of the dialogue processing work on the show.
Well, it's interesting. Like, we wanted to be, a bit marvelly. We wanted it to be, a bit exaggerated and dramatic within that style and that universe. And we did need to show loyalty to the existing IP. So we do have, we have a previous season to nod to. But back to how much there was going on with every single scene, and especially those loom scenes. We needed to find something that really allowed the voice to cut. And so we needed something that was a frequency that would fit within all the other items that were going on. So those futzes, those processing choices were made in a combination to be loyal to the universe, but also to be audible and functional within the storytelling process. Because we could futz things low, we could make them bassy, we could do a lot of different processing, but we chose what we did in order to utilize what would be most audible and really take up the least amount of space to allow all the other things to kind of exist in the universe, because those are the real realizations that we as a viewer needed to pay attention to.
So let's talk about the Dolby Atmos mix. Besides the temporal loom scenes, which seems the most obvious for the use of Atmos, what other scenes do you feel really shined in the Atmos format?
Well, this really did shine in those loom scenes, absolutely. But to be honest with you, I find personally, as a re-recording mixer, that utilizing Atmos for the quieter scenes and for the more intimate scenes is actually extremely emotionally effective. And the reason being is that you can starve the ear in those environments in a way, by utilizing less space in a more traditional manner, in a less immersive manner. But then what you choose to make immersive, like allowing that space to open up again, it creates such a feeling, such a change subconsciously in how you absorb the information, that it's really effective in storytelling. Like, one of the things that we struggled with quite a bit was moving around the TVA and making a map of the TVA and that big hallway with all the, the big mural of the previous gods, the fake gods. Moving through that space and allowing kind of the hallway things to sneak up and things to move around, by allowing that space to be very large, and then allowing kind of the secretive interactions between Mobius and Loki to be quiet and very traditionally small. So by utilizing small space in those quiet scenes and then a very large space in other scenes, you're really able to give them that paranoia, because they were constantly in that hallway going, who's listening and what's going on? We were able to really make you feel that by making that very large, as opposed to all of their other secretive conversations. So it's kind of sneaky. Atmos works in many ways, but yeah, I like the sneaky ways.
Was there a scene mix-wise that went through the most iterations? Like, what was the scene that you had to try it a couple different ways before you found the best way to tell the story?
Yeah, actually, there was. So we struggled with communicating to the viewer that the loom was going to break, like the loom was about to collapse, the tumultuous nature of the loom, while giving all of those intimate moments for the characters to kind of have their cathartic interactions and kind of hustle in their little huddles as to how they're going to solve the problem. If we continue to make things bigger and bigger and bigger as things get worse and worse and worse, which is what we did want to communicate, if we literally did that without any nuance, and without using space, which was very useful in the Atmos environment, it would have been overwhelming, and it would have taken away from those intimate moments in the core of the story, which is about personal reflection. The scene of entering the loom, when, they've made their contraption and they're ready to go into the loom and they all show up, kind of like what you see in the poster with all the, they're standing right in that big gate. that moment, how we were going to make things bigger and bigger and bigger as they got to that control room, and then how we were going to space it out so that we could then have drama in that room while still communicating that there was this increasing impending doom. That was a definite back and forth.
Yeah, and I loved how the picture cut also went back and forth. So, you know, you're in the loom with Victor, but then you get a bit of a reprieve. You're back in the control room and like things are quiet and you can have those like intense and intimate moments. Yeah.
And I loved the hallway too, cutting the hallway and the telephone. The editor really gave us a lot to work with there.
So of all the episodes this season, why do you feel Glorious Purpose is the best example for sound mixing? Like what sets this one apart from the others?
Difficult shots, high cast numbers, some difficult costumes, some, amazing, like re-recording mixing, some amazing sound design, music. I mean, it's kind of got it all, really. I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and actually, I would make a case that maybe because it is a season 2 and it does have to be loyal to a universe. Oftentimes, when you're dealing with something that is episodic, and you're dealing with a universe that you continue to go back to, it's a little different than when you deal with kind of a narrative one-off. When you deal with a narrative one-off, you can create the environmental elements to specifically describe the narrative of that one instance, because that environment exists for that narrative journey. When you're dealing with an episodic, you have to be both loyal to the narrative journey of your characters, but also consistent to the space that you're revisiting. So it's very complex to make that balance. And I really have to give hats off to the sound designer, to the production mixers, the entire team for Foley. Foley did amazing work, to really create homages to, but variations on, that allowed us to balance the unique narrative of Loki's journey, while being loyal to that space and that land and that entire that universe.
Yeah, all the universes.
And then TVA is complicated, man. Yeah. Indeed. Although that being said, I am in such great company, and I'm sure you feel the same way, Paul. This season, dude, the nominees in our category are, I feel blessed. I feel blessed.
Well, this is a great show, and I think you're on good footing here with this one. So, best of luck to you guys this award season. And thank you again so much for sharing your time and your story with me to talk about Loki. Love the show. Love your sound work on it. It was so good. So thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you.